What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be working on part 2 of the Wiring Specialties wire harness. If this is your first time here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and let's get going. Alright, because I'm keeping all of the heater and AC stuff, it's a little more difficult to get in. I went ahead and loosened up these parts so I can push them back a little bit. And we're just gonna, and you can kind of see a little light down in there. We're just gonna slowly put one thing in there and make sure it's okay and keep going till we're done. I got them starting to come through all over the place. Need to end up, keep pushing a little more, softly pushing a little more, getting them in there, and then see if we can get these things all hooked up. A little huff and puff and push and whatnot. Was able to get all the wires through there. I think this is for, maybe this is the Koki one. There we go, we got these here. As well as these two over here, and these two go to where I was talking about, the bottom down there. Let's see if we can get it better. There we go, those two plugs. Those two plugs right there. Here are all the all the connectors that I got sent through the firewall. We also have the fuse harness I still got to connect. Goes up there. And then got the speed calibration computers and the dash. We'll get all those hooked up in a little bit. I still want to finish up needing to do the transmission wiring, and I need to get the oxygen sensors to do that, so let me go grab those. All right, I got the lines going down. I got the CAGs. I got the reverse lockout, or the speed sensor and the reverse lockout done. And then I've got to figure out the place to put this quick bleed. And then I have the actual O2 sensor. I got the that's the O2 bung I got to put on. And the issue, though, that I'm trying to figure out is how, see if I can see this, how am I gonna put on this reverse switch? I'm gonna try, sorry about this, I'm gonna try to maybe bang out the tunnel a little bit to give it a little space just to get that plug in there. So I got two new Bosch O2 sensors for the GTO. We'll get these hooked up. Alright, I got the driver's side O2 sensor plugged in, and then I just found the hole up there and wedged the little connector so it stays up there. And now I need to do the passenger side, but I don't want to do the passenger side until I get that reverse clamp or reverse connector plugged in somehow. So let's see what we can do about that first. What I am using to help make some space is I have a breaker bar, and I'm getting it up, and they have these tabs, and I'm just using it as leverage, and I'm finding where I want to dent in, and then pushing to dent that part in. It's a slow process, but it's working. I just got to be careful not to break the actual connector. As you can see, there are, I mean, it is already getting better. I can get, you know, a decent bit. Before I couldn't even get my finger in here, but I still need to get some more, and it's a slow process, but basically wedge in a crowbar or breaker bar, and then using these tabs and then pushing this way and getting the leverage to push that in. It's slowly working, but I got a little bit more. As you can see, we are pretty close. Just need to get it hammered out a little bit more in order to be able to get this connector in. This is a pain in the rear. Trying to get the transmission tunnel so I could put the reverse light plug in. I ended up bending this and breaking it here. So I'm going to take this piece out here, and I'm going to leave that plug on, and it has a waterproof seal. I guess it was not breaking loose, so I took it out, but it looks like, you know, I'm going to try putting it back on, and then maybe with this little bit of extra space now, maybe I could get it in. But it is a real pain in the ass. If you ever need to get this out though, this is a 22 millimeter. With that, clip broke a little bit, and a whole bunch of massaging, able to get this plug in there, and it's actually, it snaps up, and I'm hoping that waterproof will keep it good. If not, we'll have to bang out and get a new one if it ends up going bad, but we'll see. All right, well, that, I mean, you could see how caved in. Has to be really caved in. That was a real pain, and it is right on this seam that goes right up. So highly recommend, before you do it, before you drop the engine and trans in, come over here on this side and bang that bitch out, because yeah, that was a real pain. Now we need to go to and work on, well, I'll get this O2 sensor in, but I also need to work on the starter, and I'm gonna see if I can unbolt the starter and get it taken out. Where is it? Way over here. I'm gonna see if I could get that actually out with the header on to get back to the crank angle sensor. Well, I cannot reach the starter, and one of the starter bolts, as you can see right here, it drops right on top of the header. So I have to be able to move the header back a little bit out of the way, so I need to loosen the header, I'm going to take off, I already took off the spark plug wires. I'm going to take off the spark plugs just to make sure I don't you know, bust anything or bust a new spark plug, and then I'll loosen this up. And while I'm down there, I'm going to get this off, and I'm going to get it all, I am going to get the crank angle sensor plugged in. I'll get the starter wires and stuff for the harness plugged in, but I need to get to the store because I want to run the 2 gauge from here, the connector here, all the way around and down onto the starter there. So I'll need to go pick that up, but I want to be able to get the starter up first, so we're gonna do that. I picked up from Summit this starter heat shield, and I just got some, I bought some, a 5-foot black wire from O'Reilly's. I'm gonna run this from the starter. You can see down here. That's it right there. That's the Wiring Specialties positive. Got those on there, and I'll wire that one wire all the way over to the terminal plug on here. Then just run a small battery terminal positive to the fuse box, and that should give the power. I need to see how this heat shield is going to fit before I tighten this stuff down, because I took off the stock GTO metal heat shield because it was a pain in the butt and getting in the way from me being able to get these wires finished. Last night it started to get kind of dark, but I was able to get the heat shield on there. I guess this is kind of a universal heat shield. I don't know, it seems okay. Doesn't, I mean, it's really big, so it overlaps, so I might have to get some of those metal ties to keep it secure, but I mean, I am able to wrap it to where the wires are covered as well, so that's good. Right now that I pretty much got everything under the car done as far as wiring, except for the second O2 sensor. Gotta find that. There we go. We'll get the second O2 sensor plugged in, and then we'll run through the wiring. I know I forgot a couple of the grounds and stuff like that, so we'll figure it out. With the O2 sensor, it is simple enough. Just take off the cap. It does have some, some sealant on there, so have that on there. I guess I need to torque down the headers, but I'll do that after. I had to loosen the headers up for that starter to get the starter out, so. Whoa, that's easy enough. You still have it in picture, yeah. And then don't need any special tools, just a nice crescent wrench, and get this thing torqued down. Just get it reasonably tight. And the nice thing is it has this little connector here, and you see see right there, it looks like that's where the stock one, let's see if I can get it in camera, looks like where the stock one was originally positioned. So let's get the plug. Actually, it's looking like the plug is short. Well, all right, I got that plugged in way up there. Hard to see. There's not a lot of good, I mean, it wasn't very, the length of the harness was fairly low, so I don't even need to. So I have the O2 sensors, both bank O2 sensors plugged in and hooked up. I have the reverse light on the passenger side that I banged out. Let's see, I have the CAGs, reverse lockout, and speed sensor all plugged in over there. Let's see, I have the injectors, I have the coil pack, the starter. I ran a starter line. I'm running a black one like this. Actually probably got a foot too long, but I got that one wired up, got the starter wired up. And as you just saw, I had to take the starter off to get into the crank sensor. I have the map, but I don't have the camshaft because we're gonna do the oil pressure, an aftermarket oil pressure gauge. Let's see, the fan, ground, I need to tighten down, and then I have a ground over there. I connected the alternator, the plug, but I know I need the power. I have the plug, but I still need the power line. Yeah, still need to run the power to the alternator, and I'm not running the oil pressure sensor or the coolant. So I might have to, I'll probably zip tie that up. What I mean by the oil pressure sensor and the coolant is I'm not doing the Nissan gauge one, so I'll put those up. I got a new engine coolant temperature sensor I need to plug in and do that. So let's start over on this side again, and let me tighten up the headers. And we'll work our way around this way, go around this way, and then come back because I want to finish over here to do some stuff. I took the other end, hammered it down a little so it's on the bend. That way it goes more straight down and the fuse box can sit on. Otherwise, it ends up hitting this edge and it won't close right. Might need to make sure I have space for the battery directly from the battery terminal, positive terminal, to here, and it shut down. And then the power should all be wired up as far as this goes. I'm going to take this clip off and then use the old ground to the negative battery terminal. I'm going to run this over to the head here. That way I know I have good ground as well. The bolt that goes into the head is just a little bit too big, so if you're going to use this, the stock one, you're going to have to drill out the hole just a hair. It's just a bit too shy. It almost threads in there. All right, so we'll get that drilled out. Good reason why I'm using this is it is grounded to the chassis, to the block, to the battery as well. So I think that should make a good ground. Putting in the new engine coolant temperature sensor. This is the one that goes for the ECU, so it's on the driver's side, and it takes a 19. I had to replace this because when I was putting up the headers, I ended up just busting it off. You could probably save yourself having to replace this by maybe removing it before you put the headers up there, and that'd be easier like that. That is the broken off one. The new one, like this, and already has some thread lock on it or Teflon tape or whatever. It has sealant on it, so we'll plug that in and then plug in our engine coolant temperature wire, and then we're good for that. Again, just make sure you get that snug. I do have two wires that I do not have hooked up, and it is the intake air temperature and the mass airflow sensor. I have the mass airflow sensor, I just haven't plugged it in. I don't have an intake on this. I don't have the intake air temperature sensor. I'm gonna have to get one of those and get an intake made. But before I start, I think I might just get the sensor and then plug these in and then see what we can do without actually getting the intake yet. I just want to make sure it starts, and then once it starts, we'll get all that stuff done. All right, next, moving on over here. I believe everything is connected, though I do need to get the rear grounded. All right, I got the grounded, and I had forgotten to plug in the knock sensors, so I went ahead and plugged in the knock sensors. I still haven't done the cam yet, because I need to get to the oil pressure sender, and I'm going to be doing that in a minute.